Greetings ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mengs and today I decided to bring you guys a surprise spotlight. After shocking the entire fanbase by winning the 8th voting gauntlet in Heroes against fan favorite Takumi, this lovely lass has become somewhat of a meme in the community. Since she hails from my favorite Fire Emblem game in the series, Binding Blade, I decided to seize this moment to bring you guys a spotlight on this energetic Pegasus Knight from Ilia, Shanna.
Not gonna lose!
Shanna, also known as Thany in some fan translations, is a young Pegasus Knight in training hailing from the frozen continent of Ilia. She grew up with her two older sisters, Thea, also known as Tate in some fan translations, as well as Juno. It's speculated that her mother was a Pegasus Knight as well, as Shanna mentions her mother talking about the fabled triangle attack in one of her support conversations, although we can only speculate. We don't have many details of her exact upbringing, we only know that at a very young age, Shanna joined the mercenary group led by Dieck as part of her training to become a knight. There, she would also meet the two fighters hailing from the Western Isles, Lot and Ward. Joining a foreign mercenary group was the best way for Shanna to gain experience, as she had pretty limited options in Ilia, as mercenaries there often had to travel outside the country to experience different cultures and fighting styles, not to mention earning gold, as the main source of income for Ilia was to send their mercenaries to other continents. As conflict erupted in Lycia, with King Sephiel of Bern launching his invasion, Marcus Eliwood of Thera signed a contract with Dieck's mercenaries to have them join his son Roy as he led the resistance force against Bern. True to their word, they stuck with the Lycian army as they traveled all over the continent, which Shanna absolutely loved. These travels would later have her reunite with her two older sisters, as she encountered Thea on the Western Isles, as well as Juno in Ilia.
My homeland is so cold.
As the youngest of the three Pegasus sisters, as well as the most inexperienced member of Dieck's mercenary group, Shanna often gets treated like a child by those around her, particularly by Wade and Lot, who look after her as if she were the little sister. In most of her support conversations with Wade and Lot, she is told to stop being careless and fall back in line, as she has a tendency to be very reckless on the battlefield, once even claiming that archers weren't a big threat to her, as they would never be able to hit her in the first place. Shanna's recklessness is made really obvious in her support conversation with her older sister Thea, as Thea discovers that Shanna has removed the reins on her Pegasus because she thought it was more fun to ride without them, despite knowing full well this can make her fall off her steed mid-flights. This really frustrates Thea and leads to the two of them having a falling out on the battlefield, although they later get reunited in their A support, with Thea admitting she's simply worried for her and only gets angry because she loves her little sister. Shanna is very carefree and easygoing. In her support conversation with Roy, he admires her ability to stay relaxed and happy even during war, as he states he often faces depression due to his enormous responsibility. Shanna's advice to Roy is to eat well, sleep well, and laugh well, claiming that these three things are the secret to enjoying life. We also learn from her support with Jarrett that Shanna is extremely nosy and likes prodding and poking into other people's personal life, as she relentlessly questions Jarrett on intimate details regarding how he met Juno, only to refuse answering any of his questions back. In her support conversation with Dieck, we learn that Shanna has a deep desire to be accepted as one of the guys, but that she often feels left out in the group as Wade and Lot calls their commander bro, something she isn't allowed to do, although Dieck never really explains why. She also gets really annoyed when people treat her like a child, and it can be speculated that the reason why Shanna pulls all of these crazy stunts all the time is not because she is reckless by nature, but simply because she wants recognition. Shanna is also a very curious and adventurous person who is interested in learning about foreign cultures and experiencing different fighting styles. She expresses great joy in being in Roy's army as it travels all over the world, allowing her to do just that. Shanna has two possible endings. In her normal ending, she returns home to Ilia after the war and finally becomes a fully-fledged Pegasus Knight. She would later promote to the rank of lieutenant and then to squad leader, and eventually rise to become flight leader of Ilia, the highest rank a Pegasus Knight can obtain. Her light-hearted attitude and energetic personality would be admired by everyone in Ilia for years to come. However, if Shanna reaches an A support with Roy, her ending changes. As the new wife of the Marquis of Thera, she abandons her career as a Pegasus Knight and settles down in Lycia with her husband. Her cheerful personality would energize the people in the difficult reconstruction period that followed the war. The name Shanna means red in Hebrew and is often a name associated with beauty. Shanna shares her English voice actor in Heroes, Marisha Ray, with Effie and Obro. On the official Japanese Nintendo site, Shanna was rated the 6th most popular character in Binding Blade. Shanna won the 8th voting gauntlet in Fire Emblem Heroes, surprising the entire fanbase when she beat Takumi in the final round.
Hey, it's the Chief! You're the Chief, right? Right.
Shanna is the first Pegasus Knight you get in Binding Blade, and she joins as early as Chapter 2, coming in as a blue player-controlled unit on turn 2 alongside the rest of Dieck's mercenaries. For newer, inexperienced players, Shanna can be an extremely tricky unit to train and use properly. Binding Blade's early game is filled with bulky axe-wielding units, and enemy archers are regularly sprinkled in between enemies, not to mention the odd air caliber mage here and there. However, with a bit of situational awareness and some smart use of the rescue function, there are always possibilities for her to pick up a few easy kills here and there. Once she gets a few levels under her belt, her avoidance will start to skyrocket, to the point where she doesn't need to be constantly babying on the front lines. Unit-wise, Shanna is what you'd expect of a classic Pegasus Knight. She excels at skill, speed and luck, but has low hit points, strength and defense, with her resistance being slightly above average. Her fantastic base speed of 12 allows her to easily double most enemies she goes up against, though her shaky base strength of 4 makes it a bit difficult for her to deal any meaningful damage early on. Her 30% strength growth can be somewhat off-putting, and she can easily get screwed if you are a little bit unlucky, but you can always improve her damage output with heavier lances, sacrificing some of her already abundant speed to be able to deal a killing blow. Shanna's low constitution of 4 may also seem problematic at first glance, as she takes a whooping -4 speed penalty just from wielding regular iron lances, as well as a -7 penalty from javelins. However, this low constitution score means that her 8 stat is really high at 16, allowing her to pick up almost every single playable character in the game, even post-promotion. This is tremendously useful, as she is the first and only flyer you will have for a very long while, and flying rescue bots are extremely valuable with Binding Blade's long and tedious maps filled with mountains and forests. Compared to her two sisters, Thea and Juno, Shanna is unquestionably the best of the three. Newer players may fall into the pitfall of thinking Thea is better because she has higher base stats, a higher strength growth, and even gets hard mode bonuses, but if you really compared the two of them side by side, she really isn't that much better than Shanna. She joins way later and at a pretty low level, not to mention she has a very crippling D rank in lances, preventing her from even using the killer lance at base when she joins. By the time you get to Thea, Shanna might already be promoted, as an Elysian Whip is available as early as Chapter 8. Sure, at the end of the day, Thea will have a few more points of strength compared to her younger sister, but that's about it. Shanna is definitely the better choice, trust me. The third sister, Juno, doesn't join until Chapter 20, and is also exclusive to the Ilia route, meaning you might not even encounter her at all. While Juno is a pre-promoted unit that requires no investment to get going, her stats will usually be a lot lower on average, and she is considered the weakest of the three Pegasus sisters. If you want to use all of them, however, they can perform a triangle attack together. This is a cool, neat little trick, but seldom useful, as having all of your Pegasus Knights in one place centered around a single unit is not a very productive use of your flyers, but it might allow you to easily take down a boss or two. If you want to eliminate Shanna's weakness to arrows, make sure you steal the Delphi shield from Narshan in Chapter 16. This shield will not only make Shanna take regular damage from bows, but also from the Air Caliber tome, which you will see placed on certain units here and there. Shanna is still pretty frail though, so don't expect her to easily tank hits, even with this item. After Chapter 16, or 16X if you unlock it, there is a route split depending on what units you use. If the total experience gained by Sue and Shin is higher than the total experience gained by Shanna and Thea, you will go to Sakai. However, if Shanna and Thea have gained the most experience, you will instead go to Ilia. The Ilia route is considered the easiest and least tedious of the two, so many people therefore prefer to give Shanna a few kills in the early game in order to make sure they don't have to go to Sakai. Overall, Shanna is a very tricky unit to use, but will be very rewarding if you take your time to level her up by spoon-feeding her easy kills here and there. Flyers are extremely valuable in Binding Blade, and if you simply learn to watch out for archers and Air Caliber tomes, it shouldn't be all that hard to keep her alive. Take good care of this bubbly, energetic Pegasus Knight, and she is sure to carry your units to victory, or at the very least into other places they need to be in.
Hope you're not skipping meals, Chief. Bad idea.
Being a Binding Blade unit, Shanna does suffer a bit from poor exposure in the main story, and rather limited support conversations. Her backstory is very limited, but she does possess a very refreshing personality that is easy to like. Her relationship with Dieck's mercenaries is that of a younger sibling, and it's adorable to watch them all look after her while she struggles to find her place in the pack. Her tomboyish attitude and sharp tongue are pretty entertaining in contrast to the burly and brutish fighters from the Western Isles, and she does have some hilarious lines that are extremely quote-worthy. I rate her 3 out of 5 stars. Shanna's design sadly suffers from being very similar to that of other Pegasus Knights in the series. A traditional tunic, a short skirt and high boots, with some pieces of light armor here and there. It's not that her design is bad by any means, it's just not very memorable, as she struggles to stand out from her two sisters as well as from other blue-haired Pegasus Knights in the series. I mean, just look at this. Here's a few pieces of artwork. Can you spot which of these are Shanna at first glance? Go ahead, have a try. Okay, did you guess it yet? Well, the answer is none of them. All of these are Katria. This is Shanna. Anyway, I just wanted to fuck with you for a little bit. Anyway, I also want to show you this comparison right here. I get that units being inspired from other games are a thing, but the similarity is so striking here that it's simply borderline lazy in my opinion. Although I guess you could give Shanna some credit for being the original one. Still, while her design doesn't stick out in any meaningful way, it's not bad by any means, just a tiny bit on the bland side. I still find Shanna to be an extremely attractive and cute character, and her stylish headband and cool hairdo pulls her up quite a bit, making me rate her design 3 out of 5 stars. When I first started playing Binding Blade, I was a Thea fanboy. I hated Shanna as a unit and never used her, but as the years went by and I started appreciating things like availability and mobility more, Shanna grew on me and I realized that she had a lot of potential as a unit. Having a Pegasus Knight join you in the second chapter is pretty rare in a Fire Emblem game and definitely pulls her up as a unit. While she may be difficult to use due to her frailness, low bases and the density of axe-wielding enemies, she will quickly become an extremely valuable unit if you take your time training her. I rate her 4 out of 5 stars.
Someday, I'm gonna fly high and light up the sky!
Thank you so much for watching this Fire Emblem character spotlight. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider helping out this video with a like, and let me know what character you want to see me feature in a future spotlight by leaving a comment below. Before we end this video, I want to give a massive shout out to my amazing Patreon supporters. You guys are the best and I really appreciate each and every one of you. You make it possible for me to produce all this Fire Emblem content for you all on a daily basis, especially now that YouTube is demonetizing videos left, right and center for seemingly no reason at all. If you become a Patreon supporter today, you get instant access to my Patreon-only Discord chat, the ability to participate in Patreon Hangouts, and ask questions from my Patreon Q&A videos. Also, if you become a silver tier Patreon, you can request your very own Fire Emblem character spotlight, alongside a drawing of your favorite Fire Emblem character done personally by my designer. You can check out our Instagram or Facebook page by clicking the link in the video description to see some of the work she's done previously. She is extremely talented. I also want to mention 4 YouTube channels which I use a lot for these spotlights. Master Annex is very diligent in sending me ripped sound files, and I occasionally also use his videos, in particular extended soundtracks for my videos. I also use clips from Phoenix Master 1, Shadow of Chaos 725 and Just One Gamer. You can find links to all these channels in the video description below. I'd recommend you go subscribe to them, especially if you are a content creator. They have a lot of amazing resources like DVD quality 60 FPS cutscenes, which you can use for your videos. The wonderful art and design you see used in the spotlight was made by my designer, Mina Tangerina. Also, my 2 script readers, Tsunagi and Heliosan, helped me with the fine-tuning of the script of the spotlight, along with Mecha, who also assists with correcting errors and mistakes. Anyway, that's all for now. If you want to see more spotlights, check out the playlist linked in front of you. There's also another direct link which will take you to the previous spotlight I did. Anyway, my name is Mangs. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. You are a true fan. Don't forget to leave that like, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.